was very important that we put the foundation, terminology, definition, and then we go in, especially in this lecture, deeper and deeper to understand really the character of an addict. So the outline for this lecture, the first topic I'm going to be addressed today, how did he or she got this way? And that will help all of you to answer some of your questions and to lower your anxiety a little bit. How did he or she get this way to become, and especially in this lecture, I'm focusing on sexual addiction. Second topic, to understand how he or she got this way, I am going to address biological conditioning. I'm going to talk about classical conditioning. And second topic, I'm going to talk about why men or women use. And by the way, the word use, that's like atypical in substance abuse. We always say he's using or she's using. Like I said, we're going to talk about why men and women use pornography. Signs that he or she using porn, and instead of just continuous saying pornography, I'm just going to say porn. Third or fourth topic, the effect of the sexual addiction on marriages, why you are not to blame. If someone comes to you with this problem, why they are not to blame. And the last point is going to be the emotional impact of disclosure. When someone confesses to his spouse or her husband that she has been a sex addict, what is the impact of this disclosure? Last, what can you do? If a person been caught in this cycle and they discover that their spouse are sex addicts or they are using porn, what they can do? I hope that that will give you some hands-on. In Matthew 6:22 and 23, Jesus said, "The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness." Do you see here it said, if your eye is good, your body will be full of light. So we're talking about light and darkness. So back again to just refresh your mind with some definition, because we have that yesterday. How I defined sexual addiction. If you remember, my definition was, it's out of control. So the word compulsive, like we said, A equals C plus D. C, that's compulsive. So the word compulsive, which is out of control sexual behavior, that's compulsive. And because we're talking about sexual addiction here. It is a slavery. And when I say dependent, when I defined it yesterday, I said A, which is addiction, equals C plus D. Compulsive plus dependent. And when you see the word in the Bible, slavery, that's what really we meant by you cannot live without it. You are dependent on that. To a various sexual behavior or fantasy, it's a preoccupation with sexual lust behavior. I gave you that definition yesterday, but just I'm repeating it here again to refresh your mind. Some few points here to help you in understanding that sex is void of intimacy, works as addictively as any pill or injection. Because some people really deny that there is something that's called sexual addiction. So basically, it is not what I'm doing, it is like an agent, like what we did yesterday, it is to numb certain feeling, and we got to know what those feeling he or she want to numb. Emotional pain. Now let us understand little bit the character of an addict. Emotional pain. What's an emotional pain? If I tell you, someone come and say, I have an emotional pain. It could be rejection, feeling of guilt, loneliness, fear, anxiety, memories of abuse or failure. People, they didn't achieve academic, they are being abused, so some of the memory attack them, and those are things under the word emotional pain. So we start now learning a little bit about the addictive personality. 4 criteria. I said that yesterday, but I'm just refreshing your mind because now we're going to hit more on understanding what that. We said yesterday there is 4 criteria that define sexual addiction. It is unmanageability, 2, progression, things doesn't get better or level, it always gets worse, mood altering, and negative consequences. And as a matter of fact, some of them, it cost them their marriage, their life, and you could hear everywhere now in the news and so on and so forth how many, senators, people really in political position or whatever, they are been under some of those, and of course, there is a negative consequences. And beside the consequence from the society, there is other things that, like what I mean by consequence, that they are being exposed and the family suffer because of that. There is also some money, people who are been addicted to some of those sites. As a matter of fact, I have some cases that people, they pay between $400 and $500 a day. A day. In 6 months, they have a debt over $165,000. Mother comes and she was looking at her visa, and she find that it was being charged like $100 or $200. And of course, the first thing is what? They have like a kid, 6 years old, so just went to her husband and say, what's happening here? Said, I have no idea who charged this. And of course, they know that it was porn site. What had happened, they talked to the kid, 6 years old. He was like typing on the computer, and of course the computer didn't have any filter or anything, and kid 6 years old mistype a word or something, so here we are. He got in those porn sites. And the way the engineer does those sites, that you try to close the site, it will kick in the second one. You try the second one, it will kick to after that. So 6 years old, what he will do, try to close it, it was not. And I think in one of those sites they ask, go and get your visa or something. So he went and find his mom's wallet, and he just put the number and charged it. You're talking about 6 years old. That's so far. How did he or she got this way? Very interesting to lower all of your anxiety, because I felt that when I have this horrible statistics, everyone worried, oh my goodness, like now it's started to hit home. But let us understand the personality of an addict. Some studies estimated that there is 80% of the sex addicts may have been sexually abused in childhood. 80% of them. And like I said, maybe a lecture back or so, you have to, when you ask, you have to know what is the definition of sexual abuse. Sometimes we define it that when a person young in age exposed to inappropriate material, we consider that sexual abuse. Beside, of course, the other definition of sexual abuse. False belief. So we said that 80% of them are been sexually abused. And second thing, that they have false beliefs. Such what? Such as, I don't think that I ever someone who loves me. Another, I felt unworthy of love or respect. I always convinced I was inadequate. Sometimes, some of the parents, unknowingly, they give certain negative messages, and it can affect some children. The only way I know how to relate to someone is sexually. And usually, the last one, it is the mentality of a person, typical, the mentality of the person who has been sexually abused. That is their whole psyche change, and the way they know how to relate during the being prerogative or been sexually with other person. So we said earlier that 80% is been what? Sexually abused. What had happened to the other 20%? The other 20%, some of them develop later in life. Some kids never exposed to anything till they go to college, for example. But not every kid go to college exposed to a certain material. Low self-esteem, rigid upbringing, controlling parents, inability to relate to the opposite sex, difficulty with the expression of emotions. Those are the other 10 or 20%. Society conditions. This is a big now. You will see in TV most of the series and movies and things that there is multiple sex partners, repeated affair, sex on the first date. This kind of messages, which comes from soap opera, like we say before, TV shows, movies, it sort of synthesize the mind of a person. So this kind of things doesn't shock them anymore. So they become synthesized to this. So society. And as a matter of fact, so many times, one advertise agent, they were have an interview with him, and they were asking him, we see advertisement in TV car with maybe a woman in bikini or something. What's this have to do with that? So he said plainly what? Sex sells. So that's why you will find so many billboards, advertisement, magazines, everything, because that's what sells. So this is what we call society conditions.